The time now is 7:03. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Moore. I'm chair of ANC 34G. Thank you for the great souls for coming out tonight and joining us. While we have storms rolling through, it seems like it's cleared up a little bit. Thank you for everyone that is joining us online. Today is June 12th, and this is our regularly scheduled ANC meeting. We'll start off with commissioner introductions, and to include introductions of one of our volunteers here tonight. We start with Commissioner Dolan and go down the line.
I was on the 3G board, which is and there's still a lot of comments, except that it wasn't. My name is Peter Rich, and this is 3G representative 3G05, and thank you for being this year.
I'm Peter Gosselin. I represent District 6, which is basically the west side of Connecticut, between the Circle and Military Road.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lucy Gore, and I represent 3G01, all of Hawthorne and portions of Barney Place.
Hi everyone, Zach Ferguson, I was in single member district 07.
Good evening, everyone. I represent District 2, which is military between Portland and Utah to Tennyson, with a bit north of that, and Chatsworth and Portland.
Jim Nash, my represents Vision is Broadridge influence and this
I am board and I'm a volunteer.
Thank you, everyone. With that, so meeting procedures, pretty much standard meeting procedures. We ask that if you have questions, if you're in person, raise your hand or go to the mic. There's one, okay, so there's a platform, so just go straight to the podium. If you are in the virtual audience, please use the raise your hand function, and that can be found in the lower right hand portion of your screen under reactions. Just hit that raise hand button. We ask that you keep your mics muted if you're in virtual attendance. For people that are attending in person, just be mindful of any conversations that might distract the meeting. We have virtual meeting procedures on the table back there, as well as a sign-in agenda that kind of discusses how many minutes community members are allowed to speak, how many minutes commissioners are allowed to speak. And we ask that everyone be respectful, and we have done a great job in recent months. We have had, knock on wood, any food bombings or any inappropriate conversations in our ANC. So we're very appreciative of that. With that, commissioners, are there any amendments to the current agenda? Okay, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, and just to remind folks, that is a new feature of ANC. The consent agenda is to move the meeting along a little bit more rapidly. These are items that the commission pretty much unanimously agrees upon. We do not put controversial items that need community discussion in the consent agenda. With that, I move to adopt consent agenda as listed. All those in favor? Yes, thank you. And we will move on to the next item, which is the ANC 34G resident form. This is also a new feature of the ANC. And this is a portion of our agenda that we devote to community members, so those in the audience, those also online that want to raise any issues of concern to the ANC, of issues that we do not already have on the floor. So this is the time for you all to bring issues to us. So with that, are there any people online or anyone in the audience that has anything they want to raise with the ANC or anything on your mind that we should know that we're to be aware of? Okay, anyone online? Ron Klein. Ron, you can
Yes.
speak?
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Gore, for having us get the floor. I wanted to speak for about a minute today. I want to speak about a pending text amendment in the Zoning Commission offered by the Office of Planning. I submitted testimony today, and this is the gist of it, okay? I'm concerned about a major purpose wording in the draft. It's called case 2225. Not sure if you're all familiar with it. This, if approved, could or would remove standing of a community to include our community in zoning map change matters. Okay, our small area plan is at odds with that draft case 2225, thereby nullifying legislative purpose. So given this, also the recent back and forth letters between Dumphead and Council Fruman related to community standing and influence, this action would undermine this terribly important and constitutional community purpose. 2225 basically extinguishes an already narrow public engagement process, which entails having standing in front of the zoning commission. That's all I have to say. I just want to make you more aware of that.
Thank you. Commissioner Shajari.
I just say that this came up last. When this came up last fall, I testified at a hearing on it. But apparently the mayor proceeded to continue to push it forward. I think it is should be a real concern. Ideally, and we're working with the private line today to robust public engagement process around redevelopment and rezoning our Main Street.
Any other commissioner comments on that? I know there are quite a few ANCs around the city that have submitted testimony on that. There's been a few points about it. We didn't submit testimony on it. Other commissions, testimony on the various issues. I think they kind of know what they want to do. Any other raised hands here? Issues you want to bring to the ANC? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed with the agenda. Commissioner Jordan. Sarah Harkcom, if you're on the virtual meeting, can you raise your hand? Let's go to Mark Sullivan in the virtual audience while we're waiting for maybe Sarah to join. Marty.
Thank you. My name is Marty Sullivan. I'm zoning counsel for the applicant for this case. Sarah Harkcom is my assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, the architect is here. He may have raised his hand. Patrick Bryan, I'm sorry, is he? Patrick here, and the property owner is here as well.
We're gonna make you co-host, I'm assuming you have a presentation.
Yeah, Adrian, yeah, we do have a presentation. I'm waiting for the architect to raise his hand. I think he thought it was going to be on later. He was coming on at 7:15. So, but I can take you through the plans. It's fairly simple. If I can share the
Okay.
screen.
I made you co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, thank you. So I'll start by, here's a map showing, so the subject property is here. The one that's highlighted. This is 5724 Nebraska Avenue. And the request is for rear yard relief to do an addition here in the back. It's going to extend a little bit further than it is now. This is a covered porch and then a second story on top of that as well. The owners here, if you have any questions, but I will point out that we have a support letter from this neighbor and from this neighbor as well. So we have both of the adjacent neighbors are in support. And we have support letters in the file for that. So I will pull up the plans.
I don't know if you have, I believe our presentations are a little different than what Sarah might have sent us, but.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand that.
Okay, come on. You still there?
I am, yes. I thought I was waiting for you to say something. Sorry. So I was just waiting to see if the architect was here yet. Sorry. So this is the proposed addition here. These are the existing elevations here. So this is the current, the rear of the house now. And so this is the proposed addition here. Sorry. So this is the addition here on the left side. Here it's two-story addition. This is a side elevation. This is the other side elevation. We're asking for rear yard relief. The requirement is 25 feet. The rear yard is actually going to be 12 feet. And the currently the rear yard setback is 18 feet. So it's going to be 6 feet, 5.5 feet longer into the rear yard. And here you can see it on the plat. This is a floor plan, and this is where it is on the property. Here's the property line here in the back, and this will be the rear yard. And it meets the side yard requirement, but we're asking for relief from the rear yard, and that's in this area right here. So, and both of these neighbors are in support. And unless Brian is here, that's all I have. And Adrian, the WMATA, the property owner, is here as well. If you have any questions for him.
Commissioner Dell? So I went to the. This close to. I went to the house
And with the architect and the homeowners, in addition, and looked at the site line where this house sits in relationship to the houses that surround the next lower elevation of the most of those ground, so it doesn't appear that the sight lines or here lines or anything of that sort, so it's consistent with the neighborhood. It's support that then this proposal.
Okay. Is there, homeowner on the virtual meeting?
Yes, we're both on. I'm Lucy Cambria. I'm one of the homeowners. And my husband, Adrian Maseda, is also on. Not sure if you can hear me okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we're on.
Okay. So you discussed this project with your adjacent neighbors?
Yes, and those two adjacent neighbors, the ones that are the closest, have actually signed letter of support for us. And those are in the file that Marty put together. And then we have some other neighbors who have also supported one other letter of support from across the street as well.
Okay, were there any neighbors that were not in favor of the project?
Not that we know of. Nobody has expressed, and they all received notice, I believe, from this commission.
Any other commissioner questions? Any members of the community have questions on this project, in person or online? Okay. Commissioner Zeller?
I know that we support this recommendation. There is.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous.
So even if you see, I would listen to Tom's, would be the date, vote and the approval, which will have been ordered to July next year. That's when the meeting is.
Sorry, it was really hard to hear what Commissioner Zeldin said.
Since the 1 hour maybe should be ready to be before July. Yes.
Yeah, it didn't come through at all. So if you guys could type it or let us know what was said. Oh,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. And I just saw it in the Commissioner Zeldin will enter hit this into tops before July 12th. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so the next item up for discussion is the WMATA Better Bus Draft Visionary Network proposed resolution. And 1 second. Okay, so just a little bit of a background on this. The ANC, as a lot of you all know, have been fighting for a long time to not only retain the E6, but when we lost it, to restore the E6. And recently, WMATA is undergoing a process where they're re-envisioning bus service throughout not only the District of Columbia, but surrounding jurisdictions as well. And it's called the Visionary Network. So it's supposed to give us better and more direct access to bus service. We looked at this proposal and had concerns about the M4 routes changes as well as the E4 routes And in the resolution, you're calling reinstatement of the E6. WMATA did extend the deadline. The deadline was originally June 5th, and they extended it to June 18th. I know, Councilmember Matt Berman, called for an extension. I believe Councilmember Louis George did too, as well as some commissions. So they did, actually did a little bit of an extension on public comments. So the resolution pretty much now on page 2. Goes through some of the areas of concern as well as an overall look at the routes and what's going to be impacted. In the resolution, beginning at the top of page 2, we talk about how Chevy Chase and its broader goods have long been transportation deserts. And that we are going to be impacted by changes to the M4, particularly in Harvey Woods and Hawthorne. We talked about the 203 routes. I'm sorry, folks. I gotta make my screen bigger. My eyes are not open today. That currently runs from Friendship Heights along Military Road and Rock Creek Park, and no longer goes through Chevy Chase or along 10th Street as an E4. We talked about the 203, which is a replacement, and how it doesn't provide us easy access to the Civic 4. I believe the transfer location would be a 102 if you want to go down further access to Connecticut Avenue. That is actually military and Connecticut and military, which if you look at that, that's rough. 10-minute walk, which is roughly about almost a half mile, if you were to walk. So that's not really direct access for our it's in the interior. You can see everything. We added in a resolution our concerns with the placement of bus stops, so we have that in there. We talk about how it's not going to run, the M4 will not run in the interior neighborhoods along 30th Street. It will no longer run along City Hospital. The M4 is going to reroute down New Mexico Avenue, we run through Georgetown, along M Street, the West End, down to GW and 5.
They're
We
changing
talk
them.
about
I read stuff. Today.
the time, and how we're concerned with the new route going through the West End, Georgetown, Body will impact the bus route coming back up to this end. Particularly, we expressed concern about it impacting the ridership for our students going to Deal and Wilson in the mornings, and they potentially having delays due to traffic backups in Georgetown and trying to push that bus on to school. We talk about how the intervals, so the 30-minute interval during peak times on the M4 is not ideal, we'll say. So we say that it might render that route very usable, because that's an extensive amount of time to wait for. We prefer to see 15 or 20-minute maximum wait time. This next paragraph, where we talk about the trade-off between high frequency service and transfers or less frequent but direct service. We have friendly amendments, so you see in blue on the screen that there is we amended this sentence to say the proposed route serving Chevy Chase are not frequent nor direct, which makes the proposed route serving Chevy Chase. I'm gonna go over this. Chevy Chase are not frequent nor direct and part of the residential neighborhoods, which makes the proposed routes not viable. And we talk about the lack of service to Friendship Heights. We talk about our Millwood military retirement community and a population of seniors, including folks that don't own cars, how this would impact them. We also have in here a statement about the civic core and going planning, for redevelopment. I believe this was Commissioner Nash for the amendment, which we accepted to say that the redevelopment, which will potentially include new affordable housing units along Avenue and many such potential residents rely on public transportation. So I accept that. Just trying to go over some highlights. The other thing that we highlighted is neighbor comments. So we did receive some comments from community members through the ANC website. We posted those in there verbatim at the loop. One of them was very lengthy. We felt it was really important for WMATA and our council members to know exactly what our community was thinking. So those are submitted in the text. We talk about how, which I think is a very important point, about how this proposed change is inconsistent with the district's age-friendly commitment to promoting safer, timely, and affordable modes of and private transportation for seniors. And we also believe it's in opposition to the mayor's new DC plan, which is 0. There's a grassroots petition that has been circulated in 2020. We linked to that, and even though the last, I believe, signature at the time of drafting this was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, there's nearly 300 signatures on there in terms of opposing the changes to the E6. So we kind of at this point in resolution transition to our desire to have that E6 reinstated. And we included all of the previous comments that we discussed in WMATA's budget, in testimony where the E6 has been advocated for. And at the end of the resolution on the final page, we pretty much just sum it up, asking them to extend the comment period additional probably 2 weeks until the end of June 3rd. And then we resolve, we could resolve, myself and Commissioner Cruz to represent the commission on this. So that is, it's actually a pretty extensive resolution, probably about 5-6 pages or so. I don't know if there's anyone from the community that is here tonight that has a chance to read it or would like to speak additional on that. If you do, feel free to go to the podium. If there's anyone in the audience that has additional comments on the resolution, please raise your hand and we'll take your comments.
Hello,
How are you?
hi. So I'm Karen Johnson. I live on Running Place between Broad Branch and 33rd. And we used to take all my neighbors and I used to take the E6 bus to work the metro every single day. Post-COVID, we have hybrid schedules, so we don't use it as much. But if we didn't have the E4, so now I have to walk down to the E4 bus to get to Friendship Heights Metro Station, or I walk to the Circle and get the L8 or the 11 and 41. And now the L8 is scheduled not to go to Friendship Heights anymore. So now we are effectively cut off from access to the Friendship Heights Metro Station. Exactly. There are no other buses to go to Friendship Heights. So you want us to drive? I don't have a car. I take the bike sometimes to the metro, but you know, the bus, you know, in the wintertime, the bus is essential. So the reinstatement of the E6 would be great. You know, we had Lafayette students riding on that bus to school, as well as residents from Knollwood. We who live right in that area, we used to ride the E6 bus as well. It was always well, you know, attended on the bus. Enough people were on the bus to warrant or justify the ride. With the E4 and the E6, maybe not so much. But one of those buses needs to stay going down the Chimney, because otherwise there's no other way for us to get to the metro station. We can go to Tenley, but that's one. Number two, I take the bus to Whole Foods, to that whole section over there. I take the E4 bus across to Whole Foods, that whole area over there. So there's essential shopping. There's an Amazon Fresh over there. There used to be a CVS, I don't think it's there anymore. They're going to redevelop that whole section. So perhaps, you know, there are other restaurants, shops, stores that we can visit. that would be effectively cut off from, if it were not for the E4 bus or the E6 bus. Again, we can walk up from Connecticut or take a bike, but there are members of the community that can't do that. So the bus is meant for everyone, not just so anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, turn it back.
Yeah.
Hi, Christine Davis, and I'm here to talk about these six. I probably was the person who went on at length in the comments, but I wanted to add to it because one of my principal concerns here is I think that WMATA violated its compact. There is a transit planning process that calls for public notice and hearing. We have gone through that fire drill many times. It seemed like we were doing it every year, and each time, it's their prerogative. They propose it for elimination. But the compact that they adopted and enacted into law by 3 jurisdictions has been ratified by a joint resolution of the process, says that they have to get input from the public and consider it. And during the pandemic, signs went up saying temporary closure all over the city. E6 too. I have to live right in front of the E6. And the buses started running elsewhere. The E6 temporary closure sign went down. The bus timetable went down. And we were just left with barren poles there. And I don't think that there is anything that says they can do that without getting our input first. And the reason why that is so critical is it's to prevent them from making decisions that don't reflect the public's view on the on its actual needs. And I think that one of the things that's so problematic with the E6 is that they've basically been waging a war of attrition against us for a number of years. They always count these inefficient ridership numbers. If you look at the data, it correlates to when bus service changed from off-peak hours to every 20 minutes to every 40 minutes. Now, if you're a person like me, can walk to the metro in 25 minutes, you're not going to wait 40 minutes to pay for a bus ride when you can go over there for free in 15 minutes less time. I stopped riding it in off-peak hours. A lot of my neighbors did too. So when they give those phony baloney numbers that say that ridership is low, it is masking true need that would be more robust if they operated a bus schedule that was not, that was reflective of the actual demand. They've artificially manufactured inefficiency by depressing the demand, by making it just economically and, chronologically, nonsensical to take a bus during off-peak hours. So I think that is very problematic. And we raised that at the hearing that we've been at. And by the way, we've succeeded every single time. And I do believe that if we have an opportunity again, odds are, we have a 1,000 batting average, that we've been able to keep the bus on the road. They can't just take it off without us doing that. And so it really does incense me. But the other thing is, I can walk the bus in 25 minutes. I can get to the metro in 25 minutes. Now, if I live further away, if I had, if I was older than I am, older than I hope to be one day, I might not be able to walk to the metro stop. And by the way, our Knollwood people, they've rallied against this bus. They have very compelling testimony because there's this sort of like flat earth society fiction that there's somehow a swap that can be done between the E6 route and the M4. That is not true for those residents. They want to get to their doctor's offices at French Heights. They don't want to get dumped at Tenleytown, one stop shy of the place that they're trying to get to. It undermines, it's not a help, it's a burden on them. And I think the only other thing that I wanted to say is that, I've actually drafted letters to WMATA's oversight and appropriations committees because I worked for a long time at a legislative branch agency. And I just think that they need to know that this happened, because I think they'd be very interested to hear what basically they just took a legal requirement and said, it's easier not to do it. So that is my piece. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Michaela Platzer. I live in Barnaby Woods. I keep coming back. Sorry. But I just want to reinforce something and echo something that Christine said. I think it's really important, and maybe we can make a slight adjustment in the proposal in the resolution. And that is, we're already conceding that it seems in this resolution that 30-minute increments are sufficient, but they're not. As Christine said, we're competing against vehicles. People don't want to wait or will not wait for 30 minutes. Even when the weather is really bad, you're going to come up with an alternative. And again, as I said the last time, you get one shot at recruiting a rider for a bus. And after they stand around waiting for a half an hour for a bus, or perhaps even a bus that doesn't come because of these long routes, they'll never come back. There's no way to get that rider back. So I think a robust bus network requires frequency. Every study has proven that 10, perhaps 15 minutes, but when we concede already a half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever the time increments, whatever the headways are, that's no good. It's never going to work, and our numbers will remain low and will continue in this vicious cycle. Instead, we should be, and I think it does say that in the resolution, you talk about a robust network, but I think we really have to pound the point that the intervals really matter. Reliable intervals matter. It matters in the metro and it matters in the bus system. Otherwise, riders peel off and look for other options.
Got it, thank you. So I'll go back through, and Commissioner, if you all on deck, we'll go back to the resolution, look at that, and maybe put it in designated paragraph. Then, in some of the paragraphs where it does talk about, like I'm looking at one now, it's talking about 30-minute interval, we can maybe strengthen that language and make sure that point is hit upon. Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Any comments on?
May I make a comment?
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the commissioners for the resolutions. They were very well thought out and very thorough. I appreciate all the work that goes into that. I just want to echo what was said earlier about the importance of the E6. I've taken public transportation for 25 years in DC. And only since the E6 was canceled have I stopped taking it. I now drive to work because I live on Upland Terrace and Western Avenue, and it's over a mile walk to the metro station. And I can't do that every day in the heat or the cold, and I got to schlep stuff with me. So I really feel like we're being cut off with this, and I really appreciate everyone who has spoken about this and your advocacy for us. So thanks very much.
Yeah. So, Commissioner, with that, see no more comments. I move that we accept the resolution running and then to include strong language. Very increments. So I think we should say that we're in one during and desire when allocated 10 minutes. And we can tinker with the language and agree on. Okay.
Could I just ask a question with regard to what you said about this is not an issue that I follow closely, so do we give it, is there an oversight board that will take this seriously, that they violate procedures? And if that's so, do we want to add distribute it?
Maybe you can help us answer that question partially. One thing that I will say, if commissioners remember the mayor, when she was here, the mayor pointed out that she he suggested, I didn't go and check into that. That's something that we haven't done. But that has come up quite a few times. It's not detailed in this resolution. But I do think we could, maybe figure out who we should send this resolution to, anyone legislative. We can maybe add something brief in there, but then I do think we really need to dig into that.
You provided with the.
Yeah, round 11 appropriations bids and to, I have this and, I think there should know, people need to know that I don't have to start. It's probably people should very good.
So I, the solution, I support the comments made by members of the public. Many members of the public know that there are parallel initiatives the commission is undertaking right now with respect to restoring the E6 bus service. Councilmember Denise Short is looking at Carriers Day visit on May 24th. We met with a group of residents, including Nola, John, Cynthia Collier, Cynthia Lyons, very exhaustive study. Those bus routes and testified before the commission at our last meeting. Incredibly helpful. So we're very supportive. It's now just in terms of the procedural negligence, and not consulting a hearing on proposed cancellation. Says, echoing what you just mentioned here, more about Mayor commenting on this. Matthew Harkcom, who frequently attends our meetings in my on this fall, is one who might have followed on this. Ask him for the mayor's support in seeking to get to the bottom of why I wasn't in there. And I would even consider offer a family amendment that would insert this language into the resolution as we now have it. Paragraph about this, we might need to do the suggestion of the due diligence to make sure that we're factually right on the process works. I think it's very important. And in fact, strong step we have to come back and speak to us. But we do also realize we're canceling which you are advocating to monetary sources.
Well, I'm happy to share whatever. Sort of like global it's here to be the.
Yeah, the reference scheme. Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Perfect. Any other comments from commission or committee? With that, I move that we accept or adopt proposed resolutions with two friendly amendments. One addressing the 30-minute increments and 30-minute increments for bus commercial arrival, and the number 2 one is let's breach of the legislative contract or the legal contract with hearings and basically procedures in counseling and E6 bus. All those in.
Why not? I'm sorry. There's also reference to the weekend service. I don't remember what the interval was. In the vision proposal, there was also a reference to weekend service, and I think that was also at half an hour or maybe longer intervals. So perhaps we can message just a little bit to say even on weekends, a half an hour is still not going to get the ridership numbers up. It's good if we have weekend service, that's a benefit, but you still need frequency of service. So, I very much agree with saying 10. No more than 15 minutes and maybe shoot for 10 minutes. That might actually get more people to arrive back.
Yeah, absolutely.
But maybe something about the weekend.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Move that we adopt the proposal as stated. All in favor? Thank you, commissioners and community. Thank you so much, and we will put this. We do have till June 18th, so we have some time to make those changes and get it. Thanks, Commissioner. All right. Next thing on our agenda is the agency presentation. For J. Public Affairs Specialist for the Commission on the Arts and Humanities. JR, if you want a virtual meeting, please raise your hand so I can promote. Perhaps you have a presentation, please. Yeah. There you go. Hi, JR.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me here tonight. As mentioned, my name is J.R. Russ. I use he, they pronouns, and I'm the Public Affairs Specialist at the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. I'll be talking about our grant application season for fiscal year 2024 funding, which we are in the middle of, actually. I don't have a PowerPoint, so what I share will have to take about 3 to 4 minutes, and when I'm done, I'll drop some links in my email in the chat. And I'll also be available for a question or two, time permitting. I will say I think we're running ahead of schedule. So kudos to you all, because I think a lot of other ANC meetings I've done, it's been a little later. So I'm grateful. As many of you may already know, the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities is an independent agency here in the District of Columbia. We provide support, primarily financial support, through grants for individuals and nonprofit organizations working in the arts and humanities or with the arts and humanities with their programming to support their mission. So our current and upcoming applications are for operations, programs, and projects occurring during the city's FY 2024 budget, which I'm sure you all know means between this October through September 30th of 2024. So here are some examples of grants we offer. We have a grant that supports projects, events, and festivals. We have one to support arts and humanities education programs for all ages that actually just opened 50 minutes ago. We also have an opportunity for public art that is currently open, supporting the design, fabrication, installation of permanent or temporary public art, and another program that actually acquires fine art directly from artists, which has been displayed and you may have seen in various district government agencies for public viewing. So as I mentioned, a number of our grant applications have already been released for fiscal year 2024. Additional ones will continue to be released through this month. And for each program, we offer a series of workshops to assist with the specifics of the grant, the criteria. We also offer a live weekly chat online for general support on Fridays until the last grant application deadline passes. So these workshops and live chats are primarily online, and the workshops are actually recorded for viewing as well in case anyone who's interested and is a potential applicant isn't able to attend. So to wrap up, to learn more about our programs, you can visit dcarts.dc.gov. If you have any questions, you can email me directly at jr.russ@dc.gov. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the DC Arts. So please share these opportunities with any friends, colleagues, community members who might be interested in applying for a grant. Thank you for your time this evening. Again, I'll drop my email and some links in the chat. And I'm also happy to take and answer any questions you may have at this time as best I can.
Thank you. Any questions for JR in the chat or in the? All right, JR.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for presenting. I appreciate it. All right, next item on the agenda is we're moving down to our ANC committee and task force reports. First up is zoning development and design, Commissioner Gosselin and co-chair.
Let me just briefly report on some of the committee, and then the guidance of the chair handle a recommendation from the committee that there's some dispute among commissioners about how to handle. The committee has been, fortunately, we had another disaster, and so there's no reporting of it. We're getting better, so I want people to admire the streams and decide here whether improvement of where we were before. We have groups looking at other examples of the public engagement process that benefited in this community for the community center by something about with the partners and then pages of some facility for it. We're working, there is a strong, we can move forward on community surveys, and there's Ron Eichner submitted questions onward on set, and we will be back again. The ZDD, I think has also recommended that the ANC, has a resolution notifying the Office of Planning that the commission believes that open draft NC 19 zone for this property, the city community center library property, does not align with the JHA small area and comprehensive plan. And say that the agency is concerned that zoning designation might come up over the architect building the review zone. Let's see. So at this moment, let me just ask the chair. I understood resolution language embodying this recommendation from the ZBB was not by 7-day period in advance of this meeting, where we, as a procedural matter, take it up. But in a conversation with this or this afternoon, I also we need to have on the recommendation itself, which has the information in it. Now, there are two ways. I think the chair wants to take it. I feel an obligation to the committee I coach you to not going to go on that, but I do think this is an issue that we should vote on to say that 2 reasons. One of the few issues standard community actually agree on. And so I think for that, so many issues that we are basically agree. The other reason that it's time, both in parent funded for us, we have talked with the technical people going for the finishing of this one. And if we could clear while we support change here, the current people for the influence. So I would think that we vote for the future. I think I can.
So, there's a couple things that we can do here, just to kind of, summarize. I don't know if the audience out there, I know you're having trouble hearing. I've had a couple times where people said they heard my voice come through very clear, but, we as an ANC do have to address the recommendation from committees. Probably, I think last so we had an update to our bylaws that redefine how we address committee recommendations. And that basically forced the ANC to take them up as soon as possible. I believe the language reads something like that. And the reason why was because sometimes committees would submit reports or recommendations to the ANC, and we have to not hard to. But in previous terms, where it roll over to another, another ANC, and then the new ANC is kind of left with, okay, how do we deal with it? So we changed the bylaws to say that when we got committee reports, we'll take them up immediately. So with the ZDP recommendation, it was received timely, it was properly noticed, and the commission agreed to put the recommendation on the agenda in the ZDP committee section of the agenda. So the ANC is free to vote on that. And I'll talk about my opinion after I hear from the community and commissioners. In terms of the resolution, that's a different story, and it's a little bit more hard. We do not have ANC rules that say that you have to notice that within 7 days. That's always been the best practice for the ANC. Sometimes we get the resolutions up, honestly, 2 days prior to the meeting. We've got them up sometimes 1 day. But the difference in the notice is the resolutions are on the agenda and by law. we have to get that agenda out to the public within 7 days. So even if the resolution is not up on our website, the public knows, the ANC is going to vote on this particular topic. And then the community can weigh in on that, you know, what are we gonna vote on, or here's my, you know, just like you guys did with the WMATA. And some of you showed up today because you probably saw the WMATA resolution on the agenda. So that is kind of where we are on the resolution part. We didn't have it notice to the community, so I'm asking, and we don't actually have it on the agenda, so I'm asking the ANC to not take that. But we can take the recommendation of the DDD, which is on the big screens. And I'm interested to hear comments from community members and other ANC commissioners prior to me giving my thoughts in this particular.
Hi, I'm Christopher Baden. I'm concerned that the paragraph we have in front of us is vague. I don't know if this means that the ZDD supports and the NC 18 proposal for the entire SAP study area, or if it means the ZDD supports some aspects of NC 19 for the civic core, but believes there are other aspects that are inconsistent with the SAP. So I think it matters what the exact language of the resolution would be, because this really doesn't spell out clearly what the issues are with OP's NC 19 proposal.
Thank you. Yes.
Let me just say, this issue discussed by the committee, and the feeling was that, and it was a discussion of, say, NC 18 was supported, but whether the committee, one of the beginning was the thing that everybody was reading about was the NC 19 compliant with the plan and the SAP, but they didn't want to mention NC 18 or any other
Commissioner Ferguson, then Nash.
Yes, how can people online do this with our stream ready? We have 40 people online, how can they do this? So they can participate in this public concept.
Great question.
you want me to read the text? You want me to read the text of the recommendation? I don't, this is part of a tech transition, but we don't, I don't provide this.
You can share your screen.
Sure, anything with the last one.
I think Commissioner Ferguson has a problem. Mr. Nash.
Commissioner wants to explain to me what is it about NC-19 that is objectionable. And I guess my second question would be, what is the evidence that this is the universal objection?
Well, Commissioner, you were at TV, and you asked that very quickly. Well, I am a member of the answer to it. And he answered it in some people. Forward the accident, and that's why two is there. The number, the concern is that for regard advanced buildings and reduced totals. I have to say, on memory of my description, the language is all and the top signs basically said only in this area should change to residential mixed use moderate residential use. And that the zoning provisions for this parcel, and this parcel alone, in the upper Connecticut Avenue area, it is moderate, medium. It's a cut above where the SAP and said this was for should be. So those are the two. That was the longer explanation. With regard to universality, I would say, of which what is striking is that people who notion people who are smart support this. And I know there's a door that and you Commissioner that this damages chances for somehow reduces chances for housing here. So just say, I think this mission and this community is seeking, trying to find a way to do as much as can be done and satisfy as much of the center of that community that will accept change and including some of the so that I don't see saying no on the NC 19 visions as the trend from before the housing here as getting us for some of these businesses.
Commissioner Lynch and Commissioner Wall.
Thank you. This goes to anybody in the panel, commissioners that know the answer. Do we have a clear sense of what level of affordable housing will come to either an NC 18 or an NC 19 location, or do we have
Commissioner, I don't think any zoning affects affordability, that is that it affects how you can finance it. And so I'm not sure that there are people who say that if you can't build larger, then you're going to have a terrible problem financing. But the zone itself, I don't think any zone need for instance, that's a problem for building.
Thank you for answering that, Commissioner Dawson. Do we have a sense that the city will move either 18 or 19 and only those two options for the site?
Well, we have had a number of steps. 6 months. And it could be raised by general using those. We have been where senior officials find out talk about willing to go back and another look and we talk about maybe at this rate they will change. But I mean, given the fact that today, I think it's unlikely that they'll make a change in the direction. If he could be as well, we need that. I think there's a chance they'll change in the other direction. But the big discovery in the next few months is the existence of a deed restriction on the back. So.
Let me first of all say that I have not given that much of a opinion outside the commission in terms of how I think this impacts affordability. So, Commissioner Donovan, that maybe is not fair point to lump me, Commissioner Nancy Ferguson, into that comment. That's okay. I just want to make that clear. And in terms of this particular recommendation, I do think, and I communicated with the ANC that I think it's a little premature to vote this up or move this down. My recommendation would be to table it. And there's a couple reasons for that. We did have an original meeting with OP where Office of Planning came to the community as a result of a big push from the ANC to get them to come back out and to discuss the NC 18 and NC 19 zone. In addition to that, myself and Commissioner Gosselin had recently talked with OP on the follow-up meeting, which is going to happen at the next ANC meeting on June 26th, where OP is going to come back and provide further clarification on those two zones. In addition to that, answer the questions that were posed, answer any the questions that were posed by the ANC. And in our preliminary meeting, they said that they would be making changes to the zone as a result, this is NC 19, as a result of the issues that the community had. So one of the things that we have as a commission been very vocal about is agencies not working with. We have an agency that is working with very different than DIPED. OP has agreed, they read our letters, they responded to our letters, and they've acted. I would ask the commission for some grace with OP when they are in the process of trying to work with us to let them come back to the June 26th meeting. Let us look at what their changes are in their new final proposal and make a recommendation after that. At this point in time, I don't know what those changes are going to be. I don't know if their changes to NC 19 are going to be any more or any less acceptable. But I think as a commission, we open that before we send a resolution up, which does have a certain connotation to it. And I do think it's not going to be helpful for us to do that. I don't think it's going to better our relationship to do that while they are heavily invested in planning this next meeting to try to address our concerns. Commissioner Goffin, I see you talking at it.
So, I'll tell you, my matters. I would just like experience over almost 2 years in smaller plan and asking over. Definitely working with this community in this ANC. Just express the hearing to 2 years or and frankly, any community group here that have input. But always.
Commissioner Tellman and
Even though it's normal. Like,
no. Mr. Sherman?
Yeah, I'm not sure if people online here, right, but those here that were present. I think when we look at this response with Commissioner Nancy's regarding the basis on what we're concerned about planning and so forth, the agency does have a significant body of work that was done around of the city's proposed change to the companies. The ANC formed task force, ANC input survey, second 2019, there were 682 responses. The very specific questions asked at the time about community preferences concerning heights of buildings. A very shorthand statement about the question was asked. And with respect to the three different categories of housing, affordable, workforce, and senior. And the differentiation there is somewhat self-evident with that, simply to say that with respect to 106 plus students. So ability to be 6 stories or higher. Only 7% of respondents out of 682 favored that building. That was in 2019. It's not much of history. It's only 30 years plus ago. I think that's something we should be mindful of as we look at these issues as we now embark on a new survey. But just to make the point again, it's not that long ago.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lynch.
Is there a value in not writing a resolution that at least letting we know what CED came up with, discussion we had tonight, and just informing them of this concern that is out there, but not as strong as a resolution?
Definitely. I mean, we are, still having communications with Joel. I mean, the ANC could, send a informal communication that of CPD's recommendation will carry out and has been voted on. See, I think both we and David, we have previously told them, definitely we previously told OP multiple times that there is concern with the type of code in C19. So they know, we certainly did. Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes, and apologize to the 30 people online, it's been expressing, it's not here, we're working on it. But my issue is procedural that, some commissioners have been hearing about this for months, they've been familiar with the zoning for a longer time in the public than other commissioners, new commissioners. My understanding is OP is going to provide visuals at a regular meeting. They generously came to a special meeting, May 10th. It was not the most well-attended meeting, it's sort of about to the gills, So I'm still excited for residents to learn more. And OP's offered to come to June 26th to do visuals. And to, it's a regular meeting when people get a chance. So I don't know, let that play out before the ANC, makes a hard and fast and visually think before we give it a chance to spell things out for you. So to me, it's about process. My constituents have not seen this, what's on TV, I think the important resolutions and recommendations we need to put online for comment well in advance, not just the hours or days.
Commissioner Nash.
Sort of want to say that Commissioner Ford's comments that the timing is soft is decisive. I am not, I am comfortable with go and support, but I'm hopeful that they're going to cut that back a little bit. I am also see that actually wants to people in the paper maybe on reach here is good, make it a good in our neighborhood studies if we overview this.
Commissioner.
To be clear, I think I received it on the issue.
Okay, so I believe that we table this discussion until after the June 25th meeting. Is there a second? All those in favor?
So,
Six.
no, I'm not.
All those opposed? Abstention. 6-1-0.
Let that be so. I vote support. And they made the effort and that.
Okay, thank you. Is there a report from the racial and social equity standing? Either co-chairs Martin or students online that would like to give a report update? Hi, Liddy, go right ahead. You're on.
All right. I want to thank you, Chair Gore, and the commissioners for powering through despite these technical issues. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, great. I want to go through just quickly. The Racial and Social Equity Committee has 3 points to raise quickly, items we wanted to report back on. The first one was an event that took place last Wednesday. You may have heard of it. It was a webinar. The title was A Conversation with the Displaced Black Community, the Arc of American History. And it was really an extraordinary event because it was discovered that in the history of Chevy Chase, on our very own Broad Branch Road, there was a significant community of Black families who owned land, who owned small homes and farms, and who were the direct descendants of people who were born into slavery. These families obviously had to work extremely hard and owned their own homes. Unfortunately, it was discovered through this history that these families were forced to leave. It was decided that the land needed to be taken over for the construction of a whites-only school. So the webinar that took place last week was about this event, this history, and the remarkable thing was that the descendants of these families had been contacted through tireless, incredible research by historians at University of the District of Columbia and Historic Chevy Chase DC. So as you probably know, Carl Lankowski was the host of this event, Lisa Moore, and he presented it and then turned it over to the story about this history and the descendants who then spoke. And it was very incredible personal stories, sometimes really raw accounts of what learning about their own history meant to them, how it affected them, and the continuing repercussions of this history in their lives. There's a recording of it, and the good thing is that this type of event is going to lead to further discussions about what communities can do as we discover these important, rich history and stories, what we can do to try to reverse and make amends for these types of problems. The next event is a direct springboard from that. It's on June 21st, and it's going to be a webinar as well. And it's called What Repair Looks Like, a survey of community actions to address the legacy of racism. And there will be Dr. Linda Mann of the African American Redress Network, which is a consortium launched by Howard and Columbia Universities. She will come as an expert to talk about what communities across the US are doing. Again, HCDC will hold this webinar, and we'll have Carl Lankowski to serve as the host. So I will put both of these webinars in the chat and repost them on the Chevy Chase listserv for everybody. Also, the last element is many of you may have heard of the book, The Color of Law, which was a groundbreaking book that came out in 2017 by Richard Rothstein. The book has come to be known as an unrefuted account of how federal, state, and local governments gave rise to racial segregation and worked to reinforce it. So this is a groundbreaking work that talks about redlining and segregation as it was maintained and created by our own government. It was on the New York Times bestseller for a long time. It was one of Bill Gates's favorite books, and won a bunch of awards. And now Richard Rothstein, who is working with his daughter, she's now a housing policy expert. They have come out with their second book, which they presented around, they're presenting this around the country in a book tour. And last week they were at the Martin Luther King Jr. Library. So it was an extraordinary event where they talked about the new book called Just Action, which is just that. It is about action. And basically they traveled all around the country and met with various communities and studied their stories, their success stories, and gathered information about what communities just like ours are doing to address this type of problem. And the stories are incredible because there are some really disparate communities who are exemplified, who have come together to do amazing things. And it just makes you feel hopeful about things that can be made by people just like us. So I will post another link in the chat about that book and that YouTube webinar, and I'll post a link to the webinar that took place in 2017 when he presented his first book, The Color of Law. And we'll get information again out to the community because, you know, not only is it a scholarly book, he went to Harvard and Berkeley, but it's also a very, accessible, personal work that we can all, I think, identify with. So that's it.
Thank you, Libby. That was great. Appreciate your effort. Is there anyone from the Moraine Task Force that has a committee report? Either Jimmy Backus or Michael Hospital, or anyone from the committee? Okay, I don't think they're online, but if you all subscribe to the ANC newsletter, we sent a newsletter out yesterday that had the latest updates. Number 6 on the Moraine field project, along with the latest update from developer and CN. So the next portion of the agenda is commission business. Do we have secretary or treasurer report?
I can speak to the treasurer. Just we're in the process of hiring someone. We're looking at applications. So we really are excited to have more capacity to hire part-time staff. And the ANC is transitioning financial software, so I don't have it up on the video, but next meeting I should have some.
Thank you. Possible items for the next meeting, we have another meeting, special extension. That is an application for 3747 Huntington Street, as well as the Office of Planning, follow-up.
With that, I think I'd like to invite Carl Lankowski to.
Right now, we'll move to mission and community announcements. Agency presentations, each commissioner and agency will have 1 minute for Commissioner Gospel. Then Nash.
I'm being told that we're still not going to turn online. Do you want to bring that?
Yeah, let's try.
I mean, the people online are saying they can hear you guys, but not us. I just wanted to give a brief report of a first meeting that occurred last week on Wednesday, June 7th, convened by the National Park Service. This focused on removing the Newlands name from the Chevy Chase fountain. The National Park Service reported on what's involved in the removal. The name appears 3 times. It appears in the coping stones, the rim of the fountain pool. It appears in a stone marker inserted into the side of the pool, and it appears on a brass plaque. The view is that it can be removed in all places without doing damage to the just rebuilt fountain. There are a bunch of hurdles, process hurdles that have to be surmounted. The Park Service is doing this under their own power. We worked for a number of years trying to get Congress to do it, and it was going nowhere. So the Park Service is doing this, but the Park Service has concluded that it will have adverse cultural effects to do this, and there needs to be some remediation. There was a discussion among the group of what that might be. I suggested, for example, that they remove the name in all places, but they leave the word memorial and they leave the word fountain, and they put interpretive plaques up to explain why the name was removed, what was removed, and why. There was Carl Lankowski offered a different view and said that as in Richmond, the idea was to essentially remove all of the history, no interpretive plaques, nothing that would indicate what was there before. I think this is going to be an issue we're going to have to hash out. There's another meeting in August, and I'll report to you about that. Thanks.
Commissioner Name?
Oh, I think
Thinking you're better with that.
Okay, yeah, I have some bad news about Broad Branch Road. In 2021, DDOT announced that it was going to redo this road and address the continual flooding problems at Soapstone Creek and put in not only 10-foot wide travel lanes, but standard curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. However, I learned last week that from DDOT, quote, the project is currently paused, waiting for funding. Right now, this isn't in our pipeline and probably won't be for some time. And so I'm with Commissioner Lynch going to be fashioning a resolution for this commission. And I've been working with Louis George, and Commissioner Lynch is going to work with Council Member Fruman to try to get funding for this. We've heard from constituents, and I myself, it's a beautiful road that is not open to recreational use right now. And that it's very dangerous, even for motorists. And now the Beach Drive is closed off to motor vehicle traffic. It's an important route for recreation people. So we're going to get to work on it, but of course it'll take time.
I have a few announcements. As Commissioner Ferguson said, we are in a process of hiring a part-time executive assistant. The job announcement closed on June 9th. So we have a few people on the hiring panel, myself, Commissioner Ferguson, Commissioner Gosselin, and Commissioner Zeldin. I'll be reaching out to you all to make sure y'all have all the resumes. There's 8 applicants. We got some good candidates and would like to get the interview scheduled very soon. And we, just to make sure everyone is aware, to mark your calendars for our next ANC meeting, the 26th, which will have OP here to discuss again the NC 18 and NC 19 zones. Those are all announcements I have. Any other commissioners have announcements? Any community agencies or district agencies on the line, council member offices?
Yes.
Okay.
Versus locals are here.
Hey, Derek, is that you?
Yes, ma'am, it is. How are you?
Good, go right ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to give a couple of brief updates, and I'll also put this information in the chat. But just starting off, the Mayor Bowser is launching a community input survey, and I'll give you the link, but it's for a teletown hall to gather perspectives from residents on their priorities for the next police chief. And this week, last week, a few weeks ago, I'm sorry, as you know, Chief Conti announced that he would be retiring and moving to the FBI. So we want to engage the community about their priorities. The survey will close Wednesday, June 14th at noon. And then we welcome everyone in the community to join us on Thursday, June 15th at 6 p.m. Mayor Bowser is hosting a teletown hall. Residents can dial in using the number 844-881-1314. I'll put that information in the chat as well. And you can also watch the teletown hall on mayor.dc.gov/live. And I will put all of that information in the chat. Also, I just wanted to note that the Office of Unified Communications is engaging in Citizen Engagement Academy, which will begin on June 22nd. And it's a 3-week program that aims to familiarize external stakeholders with the operations and functions of OUC. I know a lot of times people have questions about 311 and 911 specifically. And so in addition to that, Citizens Engagement Academy, the director of OUC, Director McGaffin, will be doing a lunch and learn. The next lunch and learn is scheduled for June 22nd, and it's open to the public. But this lunch and learn will discuss specifically their plan, their strategic plan around 911. I'm not sure if anyone is aware, but there's been notice of the staffing shortages. And so this strategic plan will speak to that at the lunch and learn. And then lastly, I wanted to mention my alma mater, UDC. I know it was mentioned earlier, but I just want to send a big congratulations to, and the mayor sends her congratulations to Dr. Maurice Eddington, who's now the 10th president of UDC. And Mayor Bowser also released a statement. And so I'll offer a link to the public so you all can read that as well. So that will conclude my comments. I'm also going to drop my contact information in the chat as well, but please do register for the teletown hall, and we look forward to your engagement on Thursday evening. Thank you so much, commissioners.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Nash.
If you would like your announcements to be in the minutes, please send your announcements to me, James Nash. I'll say it again, and this better, Mike. If you would like your announcements to be included in our minutes, please send them to me as soon as possible by email, and I will enter them into the minutes. Thank you.
We're all chuckling about the technology here. Any other announcements? Anyone from Ward 3 council member staff or Ward 4 council member staff?
Yes, Chair, this is Barbara Rogers. Can you hear me?
Hi, Barbara, go right ahead.
Yes, just a quick a few updates. We are continuing with our Ward 4 care days. We actually had a care day in your community, which was very successful. And we do want to thank Commissioner Sherman and Commissioner Gore for coming out. We got to meet some great neighbors and hopefully can resolve quite a few issues in your community. Just a few quick council budget updates. Councilmember Lewis George has been working with her colleagues to reverse some of the harmful cuts in the DC budget. The council was able to reverse many of the cuts that were proposed in the original budget to DC safety net and critical programs that DC residents rely on, such as the emergency rental assistance, which faced an 80% cut next year, has been fully restored to the 43 million. I can put that link in the chat. I know that you all are wrapping up. I do want to mention how to organize a block party. We did a training a few weeks ago that we did make a recording. I actually attended a very wonderful block party a few weeks ago on 30th Street. So we are encouraging residents to watch our video, call our office if we can be of assistance. But having a block party is a way to bring your neighbors together. And if you are not on our newsletter, please go to www.ward4news.com and sign up for our newsletter. Thank you all and have a great evening.
Thank you. And I just want to personally commend Councilmember Lewis George on the Ward 4 Care Days. If you guys don't know, as Barbara stated, she was out pretty much until the wee hours at night, dealing with some issues in our neighborhood, including seniors that needed, a lot of assistance. So that was a very successful event, and thank you, Barbara, for everything that the council member and your team did. Really appreciate that.
Sure.
Anything else? Okay.
Just encourage people as you leave to put chairs against that wall.
8:39, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
That's a first.